I'm John Louis Dorbolo. I'm a philosopher, and I want to explore with you the kind of work that we shall be doing in our study of philosophy, because I suspect that it's a different kind of cognition than you've done in most of your schoolwork, perhaps in your life overall. But to the point, I'm asking you to think for and about yourself. I'm asking you to do that with patience and reason. Have people in your life ever told you that it's important to think for yourself? Maybe, maybe not. But has anybody also told you what they mean by thinking for yourself or how to do it? I think probably not. But if they have, let me know about it. I envision my role as a guide to show you ways that you can think for and about yourself. The last thing that I want is to tell you what to think. The primary thing that I want is to show you how you may think. So I'll start with why I think that matters. Let me explain with an analogy. You probably know a story about prehistoric human beings. Have you ever thought about what the people were like 100,000 years ago? Well, who were they? How did they think? The anthropological story is that agriculture was established about 10,000 years ago. Prior to agriculture, people lived in small groups and were largely nomadic. They were hunters and gatherers, which is a concept that I suspect that you've heard of. Hunter-gatherer groups fulfill their needs by finding resources in the environment and adapting it to their uses. Acorns and animals for food, skins for clothing, wood and vines for shelter, herbs for medicine, and so on. They did not put those resources into nature. When they needed something, they went looking for it, they brought it back, what they found, and gave it to the group leaders to distribute. There are other accounts, such as found in various religions, like the story of Genesis. Even in those narratives, the people used what they found. They were gatherers and sometimes also hunters, but they were not mainly creators. Everything changed when agriculture was invented and established. With agriculture, people started planting and growing their food, breeding and domesticating animals. In other words, they centralized and controlled their resources. This required that the people generally settle down instead of nomadic seeking. This led to larger groups, new forms of social organization, the building of cities, systematization of education, and much more. It changed how they thought. It led to the invention of writing. Most of what you and I experience today in terms of culture and technology follows from that massive shift in human forms of living all around the world. So why am I talking about anthropology and prehistoric humans when addressing philosophy? Because I'm using an analogy. Analogy is a fundamental form of thinking. The analogy I'm giving is this. I think that late 20th and early 21st century students, including you and I, are taught to behave as hunters and gatherers. You and I have been trained as information hunters and gatherers. When we need information, we go out and seek it, and then bring it back to reorganize it so that we can pass it over to the leaders of the group. Tell me if this sounds about right. A teacher can give you any possible assignment, and you already have the skills and methods to perform it and turn it in. Suppose a deranged professor gave you an assignment out of the blue, such as write a paper on the history of chemistry, or write an essay on Napoleon's romantic relationships, or write a report on the 1983 U.S. pre-dawn vertical insertion into Grenada, Virgin Fury. Now, I'm making all of this up, sorta, but I'm also guessing that at least one of those topics is something you know nothing about. But it doesn't matter because you know what to do. You'll start typing words into Google or maybe question to ChatGPT. You'll make some decisions about the sources you find, then extract from them and build a framework, and then write to fill in that frame. Make some relevant citations, and in the end, turn it into your professor, the tribal leader. I believe that you have followed some version of this pattern over and over and have become quite good at it. Good enough that you can take a wildly unexpected writing assignment that you know nothing about and get through it fairly efficiently and confidently, maybe even convincingly expertly. Let's take a look at my analogy. Premise 1. 21st century students are like prehistoric nomads in these ways. Premise 2. Prehistoric nomads forage in small groups or alone. 21st century students work in small groups or alone. Prehistorics seek and find resources in the environment. Students seek and find resources on the internet. Prehistorics altered the found resources to fulfill their basic needs. 21st century students alter found resources to fulfill assignment needs. Prehistorics turned the crafted product over to the leader. 21st century students turned the written product over to the professor. Well, premise 3. Prehistoric nomads were resource hunters and gatherers. Conclusion, therefore, 21st century students are information hunters and gatherers. What do you think of that analogy? Is it plausible? If so, we find ourselves more than 100,000 years later still using a prehistoric schema, even though it is with advanced technology. As a species, we have not changed our basic approach to knowledge since the dawn of human time. Maybe that's why so many people believe that there's nothing ever new under the sun, only already existing things recombined. So I wonder, will we ever get our educational and creative processes at least to the level of agriculture in which we all produce or participate in producing the information and knowledge that we use? Just as with agriculture, this will require new ways of thinking and new models of social organization, which we have a hard time imagining because we often think that the way things are now are that way from necessity. We cannot see different ways of being human because we are doing the basics in the way that we always have. Taking the disruptive innovation of the beginning of agriculture to heart, how may we cultivate our own awareness and self-knowledge? Can we grow the fruit and grain of our own intellect? I maintain that this bounty will consist in self-knowledge. But is it even possible for us to know ourselves? Are there fixed limits to that? It seems to me that we have to try it for ourselves in order to answer those questions. Now, I do not have any pearls of wisdom, philosophical truths for you to memorize. I do not have a theory to convince you of. I simply have no interest whatsoever in telling you what to think. I have total interest in showing you various ways in how to think that you can then try and see for yourself. These are not theories or facts, they're methods. And while we're at it, I expect that I will learn from you, since I cannot tell you about yourself. My strategy is to turn the educational process around and make you the teacher and me the learner. I want you to teach me about your deep ideas and cognitive commitments using the reasoning that an effective teacher provides, not only to tell me how you are, but to show me why you are. Because you are a university student and have succeeded for many years of education to get here, I'm confident that you're expert in finding and using information. You're great at using the internet and other technologies effectively, even as it is in continual change. Well, there's another network that's even vaster than the internet. It is your own mind. The human brain is the most complex system known to us, and the human mind is even more sophisticated because it's in relation to other brains and minds. My proposal is that you explore the potentials of searching the network of your own mind. Perhaps we can call it the internet, because it is within as opposed to the internet, which is outside. Your internet is not on the internet. You cannot look up the subjective truths about yourself on Wikipedia. You cannot find the concepts to which you are already committed in a dictionary. You can find these by thinking about your own thinking. That is what I propose that we do together, and I look forward to the journey.